Hi guys, I'm this movie guy, and two amazing things happened today. First off, Rogue One tickets. I have them. They came online at midnight, and I was like, I have to get these, and I got them. I'm going to see Rogue One, 14th of December. I cannot wait for it. I am more hyped for Rogue One officially than The Force Awakens. I didn't really think that was possible, but I am. I really am. And that's mainly because the other great thing that happened, I finished reading Catalyst. Guys, oh my god, this book is so good. It's so good. I mean, initially I was just going to call this review Catalyst, the Rogue One novel review, but I called it Why You Need to Read Catalyst Before Rogue One. You need to read this book before. You just need to read this book before Rogue One. If you cannot tell how serious and sincere I am, I don't know what's wrong with you. You have to read it. You have to. You owe it to yourself. It's essential. If you do not read Catalyst before Rogue One, you will not fully appreciate Rogue One. That is not to say that Rogue One can't be enjoyed without reading it, but it will enrich your experience of Rogue One. And don't worry about spoilers. Really, don't worry about it. There are not spoilers. No more than the ones that we already know, like the rebels at the end get the plans of the Death Star and the Death Star gets exploded, because that's what happens in episode 4. That we know where Rogue One is going to end, so this book will not spoil things of the movie. No, it definitely will not, because it takes place way before Rogue One even starts. I've said in previous reviews that my two favorite books in the new canon are Bloodline and Lost Stars, and now Catalyst is in that top 3. Those 3 books are my top 3 of favorite canon books. Now, I will not spoil things about the book, like what happens in the book or how things happen in the book, but I will just say certain things that I assume you know from the movies. Like, you've seen the movies, you've seen Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, and Star Wars, right? Because it will involve some things in the movies, and I will reference maybe some books and Clone Wars, because the book takes place around that era, and I assume you know those things. Like, those things have been out there for years, you have probably seen it, and I will not spoil things in the book itself. Now, Catalyst is written by the same guy who wrote Tarkin, and I reviewed Tarkin a while back, and I said that I really liked that book. And after thinking a little bit more about Tarkin, it is a really good one. I like it a little bit more than when I reviewed it, because when I reviewed it, I just read it, and my complaint with the book is that Tarkin was a little slow to start, and the writing style was a little hard to get into. So, first off, I knew what I was getting myself into with Catalyst in terms of writing style, because James Luceno, and it's like the writing style, I know that. It was a lot less of an issue for me. It still was a little bugging at times, but a lot less than Tarkin, so yeah, the writing style can sometimes be a little annoying, but not that much, and definitely not as much as Tarkin. Now, one complaint that I do have to say, and this is really my only complaint, after this I will just say why this book is great, because I'm trying to sell this to you guys, but a complaint I have is there is one character in Catalyst that is called Has. Like, he has done things, right? Yeah, no, it really is, that is his name. Has Obit or something like that. I really don't know how it's pronounced, but like, I read H-A-S, and to me that is an English verb, but in some cases you get sentences with his name, and then I'm like, oh, it's not the verb, it's his name, or the other way around, so that it's like, oh, it's not his name, but it is the verb, and I'm like, it's confusing sometimes. Like, has done things, like, yeah, no, that really does get confusing. I've talked to other people about it, and they say, yeah, while I love the book, that's really my only big complaint. Like, you have to reread sentences after figuring out, oh, it's about his character. It's not the verb, it's his character. So that's one thing that I'll say. Other than that, this book is friggin' amazing. It is phenomenal. It takes place between the end of Attack of the Clones and Tarkin, the book Tarkin, because throughout the book, Tarkin is called Moff. That's the thing what happens in the Tarkin novel. After Tarkin, he is the Grand Moff instead of just a Moff. And that is why I knew that Catalyst was taking place before Tarkin. Also because at the very end of Catalyst, believe me, this is not a spoiler, if you know anything about Star Wars, you know that Catalyst will end where Tarkin starts, because Tarkin goes to the place where he is at the very beginning of Tarkin. That was really cool. That is the way it's tied into each other. I really knew how everything tied into each other. I was like, when Catalyst starts, it is quite clear to me that it is right after Attack of the Clones because of the things that get mentioned. At the end of Attack of the Clones, you have that scene where Puggle the Lesser gets the Death Star plans and gives it to Dooku, and then Dooku goes off to it to Sidious, and what happens after that? That gets explained in the book. And what was so great is that it mentions that it makes me like that part of Attack of the Clones, a part that I never really cared for. I was like, oh yeah, the Death Star, whatever, who cares? Now it really made me care, because now it is like, oh, but that is where it started, and now I know the story, what happened after that. And that's the thing, like, after that part in Attack of the Clones, of course, the Clone War has started, so it does involve Clone Wars. It like mentions certain events that you've seen in the Clone Wars TV series. So if you've seen all 6 seasons of the Clone Wars, you know certain things and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that from the show. It was really cool how that tied into each other. And of course at one point then the war ends, like what happened in Revenge of the Sith, and then it goes on for 5 more years after that. It was so cool how it was able to tie in everything that is already canon, because that is something that I was really a bit concerned about. Like, are they going to contradict each other? No. What this book does is combine everything that we already know from the novels and the movies and the TV shows, and it makes it into one big picture, and it makes me like the prequels more. I mean, I don't like the prequels, but the fact that this book makes me appreciate the prequels more, that's amazing. Also, the characters. This explains me what I need to know about Orson Krennic, Ben Mendelsohn's character, Galen Erso, Mads Mikkelsen's character. The characters that I know are going to be in Rogue One are in this book, and this book explained me who they are. Like, Galen actually is a very relatable character to me, because he's a little bit like me, and finding out that he was like that he's like, oh, I can relate to this guy, was so great to read that there is a character that is a little bit like me in the Star Wars universe that is going to be a main guy in Rogue One. I mean, that is so goddamn cool. I was just in love with that. And of course, Galen is the father of Jyn Erso, so there has to be a wife, right? Yeah, there is a wife. Lyra or Lyra, I'm not really sure how it's pronounced, because I don't know pronunciation. I read it, I haven't listened to the audiobook. I assume the audiobook is a little bit better, but it's also more expensive, so I didn't get that, and I just got a physical copy. But like, Galen and Lyra, at the very beginning of the book, get a daughter called Jyn Erso, Felicity Jones's character. And initially, of course, I knew Jyn Erso as this character that I saw from the trailers in Rogue One, and I'm looking forward to see in Rogue One. But in this book, she's little Jyn, because she's a child, and she is adorable. It's like, I really love kid Jyn, so I can't wait to see what adult Jyn does in the movie. But it's like, she's adorable in this book, and the relation between her and her parents, it's so good. And there is a moment in the book where Galen and Jyn are just hugging and saying that they love each other, and I teared up because it was so well handled. I was just like, this feels so cool. It was so cool. I just love this. It was awesome. Now, talking about Krennic, my god, this guy is one of the best Star Wars villains ever. I mean, you have your Kylo Ren and Darth Vader and Grand Admiral Thrawn and Tarkin and the Emperor, and then you have Krennic. You will remember Krennic. Krennic. Oh, he is so manipulative. He is so bad while he believes he is good, because that is what makes him a great villain. You understand why he believes that he is doing good. And that's what every good villain does. Like, I'm doing the good thing. And actually you realize that that's a bad thing, because he's really manipulating Galen to do things for him. And he is really a bad guy. So I cannot wait to see what he will do in Rogue One. But already in this book he is like, my god, this is a great villain, and I cannot wait for more. I think that's really all I can say about Catalyst. I will give it a 9 out of 10, and that's mainly because of the 2 issues that I had. Writing style is a little bit sometimes a little annoying, and the character of Haas, but other than that, this book is phenomenal. You have to read it before Rogue One. It won't spoil things in the movie, not anything more than you've seen in the trailers and that we already know is going to happen after, of course. It's like, read it. It's really good. Now, I still have to finish Dark Disciple. I started reading it and I didn't really get into it, mainly because of other things that I had going on. But after reading Catalyst, I definitely want to read Dark Disciple and get that review out, and then I'll review it within a week. I hope I am going to target within a week for that one, so look out for that review. And then I'll have my Revenge of the Sith review coming out, and I'll make sure that it is all before Rogue One, so that you guys know exactly what I think about that. Also, I wonder if you have read Catalyst, what do you think of it? Do you love it as much as I do, or maybe you had issues with it? Please, whatever you think, let me know in the comments below. And as always, may the Force be with you. And if you want to see more of my movie, trailer and Star Wars reviews, click right here.